What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Across the Board, sponsored by MoneyBall Metrics. We have your normal host, myself, Alpha Dog Bets, here with JD from Line Movers, and our normal Monday and Friday guest. On a Tuesday, we have Ben. Ben, we're going to start with you. How are you, my friend? Are you excited for MLB playoffs?
Very excited for MLB playoffs. I'm glad the postseason's here. Yesterday was crazy with that Braves game, just going back and forth in game one. Diamondbacks, so sorry. That's the worst possible thing for them. But we some great games today.
Unfortunately, you kind of knew going into it yesterday with both teams needing to go 1-1, and whoever won the first game, you did know they were going to sit the majority of their guys in the second game. So I did feel bad for the D-backs. They kind of got the short end of the straw there. JD, our local JD, repping Alabama. Could be the Braves, could be Alabama, whatever you want it to be. How are you today, JD?
You know what? I'm pretty good. I am sick, but I am here. As far as a recap of actually last week, as far as on our Thursday show, I actually swept those picks, and I had to wear the hat for, Then
I do know.
Then on our Friday football show, I actually swept those picks also. Swept my Monday night football picks. So yeah, man, like everything's going well.
So JD's coming in off his normal 700 sweeps, just normal JD things. Yeah, yesterday was crazy, boys. Yesterday was an absolutely crazy day of baseball. That Mets-Braves game, if that's any indication of how the MLB playoffs are going to be, we are in for a treat. What an opening to that. I know you're happy your Braves got in. I know the Mets got in, which is good for baseball as well. So a lot of good stuff to come. And fellas, we have a game that starts at 2:30 Eastern today. Are you ready to break down the first playoff game of the year?
Yes, sir.
Let's do it, fellas. First game of the year is going to be the Tigers versus the Astros. Pitching for the Tigers is going to be the Cy Young winner, Tariq Skubal. He's going up against Framber Valdez. Great pitching matchup. One thing I wanted to note here is that this line did open at a minus 130 about, an hour ago-ish when I was preparing the back end of the show. I did put the line in there, and it was currently at a minus 155, so it did jump up to a minus 155. Now it's gone back down closer to a minus 130, so this line is fluctuating. We are getting some late steam on the Tigers. Ben, does that affect how you play this, and how do you look at the first MLB playoff game of the year?
Well, first MLB playoff game of the year, and I'm going straight to the underdog. I like the Tigers a lot in game one here. I think they're going to be one of the more popular underdog picks today, obviously because Skubal's on the mound, and that could be an issue with just everyone expecting Skubal to pitch really well in the postseason. But I'm going to ride him. He's the Cy Young winner. He's the best pitcher on the board today, and Valdez has been good at home. And you look at this Astros lineup. Yes, it is much scarier 1 through 4. They have one of the best in baseball with Altuve, Yordan Alvarez, Kyle Tucker. Yes, that is a very scary lineup to face. But if anyone can shut them down, especially in game one of the playoffs, it's the Tigers. And not only the Tigers pitching, how about the Tigers hitting? One of the hottest hitting teams in the MLB right now. They had one of the best records in baseball coming in, I believe it was from August 11th, to absolutely just go crazy and make the postseason. Yep. That 0.2% chance they had in early August to end up clinching it. It didn't seem like they really cooled off to end the year either. They're 15-5 over their last 20 games. So I'm going to ride the hot hand. MLB postseason is always just about the teams that get hot. You see teams that are in the wild card, they end up winning the World Series like the Rangers last year. It's just teams getting hot at the right time, and that's what you have for the Tigers here. So at least game one, I'm going to ride this. It does get a little shakier for Detroit after that, just with the rotation and everything, but I think they have a really good chance of Skubal.
See, I'm on the opposite side as you. I do think the Tigers in the first 5 may be a good look, but as this game progresses, I do think the Astros will pull ahead late and get it done. I'm also a pretty big Framber Valdez fan. I think he's been a great pitcher, and he has experience in big-time situations and has done a good job in the past in these situations. And when you look at the Tigers lineup this year, the guys in their starting lineup have not had a ton of success off Valdez in his career. Vierling's batting .214. Malloy, who's batting second, has no career hits. Riley Green's 3 of 11. Ibanez 4 of 14. Perez 1 of 3. Torkelson 4 of 14. So you're seeing these guys not have a ton of success off of Valdez in their career, and I'm banking on that to continue. On the other side, the Astros have had some success off of Skubal. Jose Altuve is batting 375 average off Skubal in his career. Then you see a guy like Bregman batting 333, Diaz batting 333, Pena batting 429. So a lot of the guys in the lineup have had success against Skubal in their career. I'm going to be playing that trend. Give me the Astros at a minus 130 currently. JD, what are you looking at?
Alpha, man, you just broke that actually game down great. I am all about actually that side also here. I think, just actually like Ben said, I think the Tigers are actually going to be a very trendy dog today, and that chooses the side that I do not want to actually be on. As far as the model, I'm actually showing value on the Astros now. I have them priced at actually minus 155. Just like you said, some actually Tigers money is actually starting to actually come in now, which I think is actually now opening up value on them. So I haven't actually sent it out yet, but the Astros are most likely going to make my card.
Yeah, this one, it seems like it's kind of one of the ones that people are kind of torn on today, kind of like on the show. We're pretty split here. We're seeing in the chats a very similar thing. Mike is saying Fade City. We're seeing other people say that they like the Astros today. So we're seeing a lot of mixed opinions. And that's the way the betting splits are going as well. We'll kind of have a better sense of how the playoff series are going to play out after today, because these guys are playing in consecutive days. There's no days off for this wildcard series. So we will get a better sense of how they're going to be looking. But for day one, I personally think that Skubal is going to struggle with this kind of pressure that's on him. He's never pitched in this kind of situation. So I think that will take a little bit of a toll on him. Let's move.
You know what? One quick thing here. Just like you said, after today, I think as far as the Tigers, their best chance is today's game. Kind of like you just said. So instead of playing the Astros straight up today, I would actually play them to actually sweep.
Wow. Good. What, do you have any odds on that, or is that out yet?
I'm trying to find that.
Well, you found that quickly. We do have a comment in our YouTube. Marcus, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Guys, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube at MoneyBall Metrics, make sure you check it out. Tons of content that's strictly going to be on the YouTube. So, Marcus, thank you for stopping in on the YouTube. And he's asking Valdez under 6.5 strikeouts. I actually think it would go over today. I do think this Tigers lineup has a lot of inexperienced players, a lot of nerves in their first postseason game. So I do think we will see a decent amount of strikeouts. One thing I will say going into the playoffs, I'm a big under backer and a big pitcher backer in the playoffs. We see these totals usually shrink. Teams play a lot better defensively and tighten up. So one thing I do think is we see a higher number of strikeouts and a lower total of runs. Do you guys agree with that?
I point out as well, over the last 14 days in the season when the Tigers were facing left-handed pitching, they have the second highest strikeout rate over the last 2 weeks, 32% against lefties. So actually really high strikeout numbers for a team that was as hot offensively as they were, still striking out at a very high clip against lefties. So yeah, I don't hate the over actually with Alpha.
Yeah, I feel the same as you. JD, do you like the over or under if you had to take one on Valdez strikeouts today? It's at 6.5.
I actually think it's set at a very good line. I really don't have a feel for actually that. I will actually say though, DraftKings, they have the Astros to sweep at a plus 190.
All right, that's pretty good odds. So basically a plus 200. If you guys agree with what me and JD are saying, I feel the same way as you do. If the Astros win this game, I think they roll through this series. So if you guys do agree with us, take the plus 190 and a sweep. If you agree with Ben, don't do that. Let's keep it rolling, fellas, to the second game we have on the slate, which is going to be the Royals, who are visiting the Baltimore Orioles. Pitching for the Royals is Cole Reagans, and pitching for the Orioles is their star, Corbin Burns. Taking a look at how these two teams have done against each other this season, the last time they met was back in April. They played two quick little small series back in April. However, the Baltimore Orioles lead the season standings 4-2. Ben, what do you think about this matchup?
Now, this one's tricky. Because actually, funny enough, these two pitchers met in that series back in April 20th. The game ended 9-7. In that game, Cole Reagans only lasted 1.2 innings. He gave up 7 earned runs. The Orioles were just teeing off on him, which kind of lines up with the fact that I think the Orioles are kind of a bad matchup for Reagans because he's been a really dominant pitcher this year, especially on the road. He's been very good. However, the lefties have crushed him. And you look at this Orioles team, they have so many good lefties on their team that can just hit so well with Gunnar Henderson. They have switch hitters like Adley Rutschman. They have Colton Cowser, Ryan O'Hearn. They're just loaded with lefty bats. And lefties just all season were teeing off on Cole Reagans. So I do think that this Orioles team is actually a really bad matchup for them. However, it's kind of a little bit of a high price for me, especially in the playoffs. Like you're looking at over minus 150. It is some juice to eat with this. So if anything, I think actually my favorite, and I know everyone can't get this, you can do the run line things or whatever, but actually the -1 on the Orioles. You might end up getting a push out of it, but you're eliminating a lot of that juice. So I think I'm going to go Orioles -1 here. You can actually get it on DraftKings for it just moved and I just had it. But -1 is -104 on DraftKings.
Not bad.
So I like that. You're eliminating the juice. Yeah, you might get a push, but I just don't like a lot of juice in the playoffs.
No, I understand that. The opposite feeling, though, is do you think sometimes you have to pay a lot of juice? Because sometimes in these playoff matchups, you do have a good edge like this one, and the price is set, I believe, pretty accurately. I think that the implied odds of a -150 are accurate, and I do think that the Orioles get this one done. So I definitely understand why you'd play the -1. I'm not going to be fucking around. I'm going to be taking the money line at -150. I think they are going to get this one done. I'm pretty confident. I know those are two somewhat juicy plays for the first two games, but let me let you in on a little secret that may change for the last two. So these are the two favorites I'm definitely pretty strong on today, the two early games in the AL. Give me the Orioles at the -150. Kansas City has a lot of players that have never been in this type of game of this magnitude, and I do think they are going to struggle. Like you said, Reagans does get hit pretty hard by lefties, and this Orioles team has some very talented left-handed bats. So give me the Orioles on the money line, -150. JD, what are you looking at?
Yeah, y'all actually broke that actually came down great. Me, the Royals are just not a bet on team currently. They're like bats have just not been like going. So just like from right off the start, there's no way that I can back them. And then going for the O State is Burns, and like this is the game that like they need. I mean, like he is their guy. Far as and actually like as far as the O's pitching behind him is really not that good now. So for me, this is a game that I think this is their like they like really need to actually like win this and actually get this started off right.
Yep.
Just like Ben was saying, I love this play. I love the Orioles on the actual -1 line. You actually can make your actual own line. And by doing that, by betting part on the money line and then part on the -1.5 line, I actually created a -1 line at actually +104.
There you go. All right, so it looks like we're all pretty much on the same wavelength for this one. Let's keep it moving right along, fellas. We're now into the teams that have played yesterday, so we have to take that into account. And the first one we're going to be breaking down is going to be this Mets-Brewers series. Pitching for the Mets is Luis Severino. Pitching for the Brewers is Freddie Peralta. Ben, we'll go over to you per usual. What do you think about this game? Do you take in effect that these guys had to play a doubleheader yesterday? And does that weigh on them having to travel right before game one of the postseason? What are you looking at?
Yeah, there's a lot of things to unpack there. It's not just a doubleheader. There's a doubleheader on the road. Now they travel again, not even 24 hours later, because they're playing at 4:30. They're not even playing a night game. And they were most likely celebrating yesterday. There's a lot of things to consider there. However, even with all that, my favorite play is an aside in this game. I actually like the over 7.5. You're going to see lower totals because it's the playoffs. That's just expected. Like you said, you're going to see some tighter baseball, tighter defense. Just everyone's a little more focused. But the Mets bullpen situation, they had to pitch Edwin Diaz yesterday. They pitched Phil Maton. They do have some arms left, but they're not some of their greatest arms. Danny Young, Reed Garrett, Ryan Stanek, who've all kind of struggled this year. They used two really great arms in that bullpen yesterday. So that is a factor today. I do think that their bats will come alive because their bats were definitely alive yesterday, especially in that first game. They were going crazy. So we know the bats are hot. The Brewers, I think, can absolutely tee off on Luis Severino, who this year, he statistically was really good at home. 2.96 ERA at home, 7.2 pitcher record. You look at his road, all of a sudden jumps up to a 5 ERA, 4-5 record on the road this year. Teams are just kind of teeing off on him. Opponent batting average of 255 on average on the road this year, which isn't great for a starter. So I really do think the Brewers can get to the Mets. However, those Mets bat, we just saw it, they can get hot. So I like the over. I'm not super confident playing the Brewers here. Even with everything that happened for the Mets yesterday, I still think they have a good team.
Yeah, so I playing this game the exact same way you do. I know I said I like to play a lot of unders in this postseason, but you put it perfectly. This Mets bullpen is a little tired right now. Edwin Diaz pitched over 40 pitches yesterday, so we know for a fact he will not be there today, and this bullpen is taxed. Like you said, they will have to lean on guys like Stanek that have not done an exceptional job this year. And when you take a look at how Severino has done recently in his last 3 games, he's given up a minimum of 3 runs. I do think the Mets bats will stay hot as well. Ben, you put it perfectly earlier. You like to play teams that get hot going into the playoffs. We saw the Rangers go all the way last year. The Mets feel like they could be one of those teams, and their bats have been extremely hot. We all saw yesterday in the real game that mattered. We all knew that game 1 was really the only important game. Everyone pretty much figured it would be a split. And in that game, those bats came hot. Francisco Lindor has been unbelievable. As a Yankee fan, it pains me to say that, but Lindor has been unbelievable over the last month. Who's been better than him? So I think the Mets bats stay hot. I think they get some runs on the board. And you put it perfectly. I think the Brewers are going to be able to hit up the Mets bullpen as well. If I were to pick a side in this game, I would take the Mets at the plus money. I just feel a lot more comfortable in the over 7.5. And that's why it is tied for the highest total of the day, because the bullpens have been taxed. It's also the same total as the Braves-Padres games we'll be doing next. And it looks like those 2 games have elevated totals by 1 run because they played yesterday, and I think there's good reason for that. So I'm exactly going to play that over with you, Ben, at 7.5 at minus 104. JD, what do you like in this game?
Yeah, y'all just broke that down great again. This is definitely not a Mets spot. Like, if you just look at everything, look at all the different spot plays here, this is not a Mets spot. But just like both of y'all said, now's the time of year that when teams get hot, they tend to stay hot, and you just can't count them out. So this feels like an obvious, actually, like Brewer spot, and I feel like a lot of people are actually going to be on there. But I would be weary of actually that tonight. Saying that, I cannot be on the Mets here. Just with everything they have actually going on. As far as actually bullpen, I just can't do it. But like y'all said, this is a playoff game, but I actually do see runs here. I have it. The model has it at actually 8.1 runs. You can get the over 7.5. I can see currently at actually a plus 105. So I'm actually going to grab that.
All right, let's get it. We all like the over here, so let's see some runs. We all want a lot of runs early here. Let's move on to our final breakdown of the day, which is going to be the Braves and the Padres. Little interesting here with the injury to the Braves. We all know Chris Sale, their star starter throughout the year, has had back spasms. He was supposed to pitch game 2 yesterday, but did have back spasms and was ruled out. I'm seeing reports that he may be done for the entire postseason. He's done, it looks like, at least this round. That's going to be a big loss for them. JD, this is your team with the Braves. You've had them right all season long. I have to start with you. What do you think is going to happen in the Braves-Padres tonight?
Yeah, man, it's really cool that the Braves actually got into the playoffs, but man, they are set up horribly here. I mean, it literally could not have gone worse. And they've called up Ian Anderson to pitch tonight. I believe that's going to be his first start this actually season versus the Padres. That's
crazy.
That's kind of not a good sign. He has had some good playoff starts though. Back here, what was it, 2 years ago now?
Yep.
So he actually has been there, but not pitching in the actual big leagues this whole season though. That kind of scares me a lot here.
Yeah.
As far as their actual bullpen, just like the Mets, it is now taxed. They came in and pitched horribly. But then that second game, they had to go out and pitch again because they had to win that game. So to me, they are even more actually used up. And on the other side there, everybody knows that I am a Michael King guy. So it's kind of my team versus the team that I've bet on quite a bit here. To me, this actually is my favorite play on the day. Give me the Padres. Give me them on the -1 line. You can get that at -112. It is my favorite play actually by far.
JD, I'm going to be short and sweet. I feel the exact same way you do, especially with the uncertainty around the Braves starter. If it is Kennedy, I still think he gets rocked no matter who they put in there. I think they are going to get hit hard. And Michael King's a guy that you've basically put me onto this year because he's been so electric and we've won a lot of plays on him. I think the Padres have no issue getting it done. I'm taking the full -1.5 at a +130. They should get it done here and they should win by several runs. Ben, what do you think for the last breakdown of the day before we get into our outlier collab pick and our best bets for the slate?
Well, I hate to make this one boring, guys, but I agree with everything you guys said. I don't think there's a square. I mean, it is somewhat square, and I think a lot of people are going to be on the Padres, but I don't think that even matters. I think this is simply a game where the Braves are in an even worse spot than we were just talking about with the Mets, considering all the bullpen arms they used yesterday. And the crazy thing about it is for the Mets, yeah, sure, they used Diaz, a few of their other guys. They weren't necessarily known for their bullpen. Atlanta had one of the best bullpens in baseball this year. So the fact that one of the best cores of their team, because in the playoffs, everyone knows how much the bullpen matters. Like the bullpen is a very big deciding factor of your postseason run, how hot you can get in those late innings, because that's when comebacks happen. That's when you keep teams from coming back. Like that's such a big part. And in game one here, Atlanta is depleted in their bullpen, which was a staple of this team all year. So especially game one here, I do like the Padres for the series, but game one is just the worst situation. I mean, you know, JD put it perfectly. And the fact that they were playing at home in Atlanta on the East Coast yesterday, travel to the West Coast, you have a long track. It's just a bad situation gets worse. Then you consider the fact that Michael King was actually pretty good this year, especially at home. And then the starting situation, are they going to try and push Fried again? I mean, it says undecided. I mean, like he just pitched 3 days ago, only 3 days rest. You just pitched Lopez yesterday and Schwellenbach. You have no Sale. They'll probably go, who even knows? I mean, you can't pitch a bullpen game. So
they're saying it could be, what's his name, JD? Ian, I keep wanting to say Ian Kennedy because I'm off, but it's not Ian Anderson. I always mix them up. Ian Anderson.
And if it is, that's just already a poor matchup. The Padres, I truly believe, have the team to maybe go all the way this year. They had the top overall team batting average in 2024 and the lowest strikeout rate. I'll talk about how big strikeouts matter in another game. Strikeouts are a big part. If you're not striking out as a team, you can usually make a good postseason run just from keeping runners on base and stuff like that. Padres had the lowest strikeout rate in baseball this year with the highest team batting average. It's just not great for game one for the Braves. Unfortunately, sorry, JD, but -1 here. I love that play as well, taking the -1.
All right.
Fried should be pitching actually game 2. There when he's like, that's like his like normal day. And Fried is one of those guys that has to stay on his normal day. Whenever he has pitched on actually short rest, his like numbers are bad. And you know, in pitchers, some of them like can just come in and do whatever they can. He's the guy that has to stay on track though. So actually that's why they're gonna.
Especially with his injury history. He has to stay on track and not pitch too much because we know he will shut down. His body will shut down on him.
And I was going to say the Braves, too, the good news for that with Fried against the Padres is the Padres crushed right-handed pitching this year. They were the highest by far against right-handed pitching in 2024. They're actually below average against lefties. So Fried pitching game 2 as a lefty, I think if they can get like 5-6 good innings out of him, they have a pretty good shot for game 2, I believe. Just kind of having that extra day. Just don't even use anyone in the bullpen today. Just let Ian Anderson or whatever go 9 innings. If you lose, you lose.
And I have an update for everybody. So we're now the official starting lineups for the Royals and Orioles are dropping as I say this. We now have the Royals lineup. So I know we covered this game. I just do want to go over and reiterate why we all like the Orioles today. Leading off for the Royals is Macy. He has yet to get a hit off Corbin Burns. Bobby Witt is coming second. He's 2 for 9, batting 200. Pasquantino, 1 for 7, batting 143. Salvi Perez has done a good job against Corbin Burns. He's batting 500, but after Salvi Perez, you have Gurriel, who's yet to get a hit. Melendez, 1 for 7. Pham, 2 for 9. Isabel, 1 for 4. And Garcia, 2 for 9. This lineup has been terrible against Corbin Burns, so that really does back up our point and why we think the Orioles should have a big performance here. Anything with that lineup make you guys want to change your bet, or does it make you feel more confident in the Orioles today?
It just doesn't. Right? I mean, yeah, you have Perez, who you said did good. Obviously, Bobby Witt, one of the fastest players in baseball. He's been electric. But outside of that, it just doesn't sound like a playoff lineup. And, you know, that might be the most difficult thing ever, but it's just like it just doesn't look or sound like a playoff lineup. It doesn't. And Pasquantino coming back from being injured. What's he going to look like? In today's specific lineup, only one player has batted over 250 out of the 9 against the starting pitcher. So a tough one for the Royals today. Did want to get that information out there for the people. Fellas, we did a great job of breaking down the 4 games, but you know the people are here. They need our best bets. And, of course, they need our collab outlier play of the day.
Guys, if you're not subscribed to Outlier, make sure you check them out. It is the easiest source to get the most data on props. We cache them all the time. People in the comments in the Discord know about it. If you're in the show frequently, you know how we do on these Outlier props. And today we are going to be taking Orlando Arcia over half a hit. We all said we are going to expect a lot of hits and runs in that game tonight. The issue to us is going to be the Braves bullpen, but I still think the Braves bats are going to hit, and that's why we are taking Arcia. In his last 10 games, he has hit at 60%, and 5 of his last 6 games on the road, he's had at least 1 hit, so he's averaging a hit a game in his 5 of his last 6, so let's play that. We think that's definitely a good one, and that, yet again, is our collab Outlier play of the day. Orlando Arcia over half a hit, -115. Boys, we've given the plays, we've given the Outlier POD, so y'all know there's only one thing left for us to do, and that's going to be our MLB Best Bets edition, first episode of the MLB playoffs. Ben, what you got for the people?
Padres -1 is easily my favorite play of the day, that -112. As JD put it, I broke down the -1 on the Orioles, but I'm much more confident in that Padres -1 than I am Orioles -1. And then that Padres and Brewers over 7.5. Really just think we see a ton of runs in this game, to be honest. Hits 10. So just those 2 for me today out of the 4 games, but love both of those.
Don't worry, guys. Ben only gave you 2 plays. I'm giving you all 4 yet again on all 4 of the games that we broke down. So every single one. Here we go. Astros money line currently at a -140. Orioles money line -150. Over in Mets Brewers over 7.5 and a -104. And the Padres -1.5 at a +130. Remember, alpha is for the people, and Ben is not. JD, what do you have today?
Yeah, these are all like good action games, and to be honest, the value on them is not a lot there. They're all priced actually like pretty well. To me, though, the Padres, it is the one that is actually not priced correctly. Give me the Padres on the -1 line at actually -112.
There we go. Well, fellas,
wait,
given all the.
Were you about to close out the show? We're not going to address the elephant in the room here about what happened over the weekend.
Which one?
You know what I'm talking about.
I have no idea what you're talking. I don't know any idea of what you're talking about, Ben. You're going to have to go into more detail. That's Friday. That's Friday. There's more to come on Friday about that game. Me and JD will be clucking like chickens for all you people. We all know what's going to happen. You did win that, but we don't have to deal with that until Friday. So we will not deal with it until Friday. Gentlemen, it's been a fantastic show. I appreciate you guys hopping in. JD, flu game for you. You're battling the sickness. I'm also a little sick. That's why I missed yesterday. So we still wanted to come on, give you guys baseball picks. And we had a healthy Ben, so we knew he'd carry the show. Ben, you did fantastic, fellas. It's been an absolute pleasure per usual. We will be back tomorrow to recap how these games did and go over day 2 of the MLB playoffs. JD, say goodbye to the people.
Later, guys.
Let's win, everybody.
Let's win.